Good morning and welcome to the Agricultural and Commerce 5th Congressional District Forum here at the Sycamore Farms in Franklin, Tennessee, or Arrington, Tennessee, I suppose. I'm Eric Mayberry, President of the Tennessee Farm Bureau Federation.
And I'm Bradley Jackson, President of the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce and Industry. As many of you know, the 5th District in Tennessee is extremely important to both agriculture and commerce, which are central themes in Tennessee's state seal. So we're proud to have candidates with us here today to talk about their vision for the district. But before we get started, I want to invite up Charlie Hancock, Tennessee Farm Bureau State Board Member, who will lead us in prayer, and then Chris Jones, CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric, will lead us in the pledge.
Before I get started, I just want to say I'm a farmer, and we're really dry. We need rain. But I just want to say that this is important, you know what I'm saying? So all of us have stopped things. We're busy schedules, but it's important that we are concerned about who we elect. And so this is an opportunity for us to hear from the candidates and thank for those who came and put this together. Also, thanks for the opportunity to pray. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for this day and the blessings of life. We're thankful for America, our leaders and all our armed services and that defend us every day. We're thankful for our state of Tennessee and the core values, and that we're willing to defend these core values. Help us that we never are ashamed of the gospel of Christ, realizing that it's the power of God unto salvation for all those who believe. We're thankful for those who are willing to serve in leadership positions. Also, we pray that you will be with all the candidates and help them to lead with diligence in whatever capacity they're afforded. Help us all to wear that whole armor of God, that breastplate of righteousness, that helmet of salvation, and let that sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, be within our hearts and our minds, so that our decisions be biblically based on a sound doctrine, and not to worry if it's politically correct or incorrect, but more so that your will be done and not our own. Realize, Lord, that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. And in this ever-changing world, we pray that we can keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Be with us this day, forgive us when we fail thee, and it's in his name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Good morning. Welcome to Williamson County. If we could, let's have the candidates to begin to make their way over here as we prepare for the proceedings, and everyone else please stand. And if you would, we have flags to choose from in front of us. Let's face our great flag, and please join me as we pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you for that good, humble prayer and the pledge there, gentlemen. Candidates, if you'll allow me just a moment, I'd like to tell you who's in the audience today. In the audience today are chamber leaders and Farm Bureau leaders from across the state. As you can see, we have a very good attendance from both business and agricultural leaders who are interested in the important issues of Tennessee and this country. These leaders have traveled from across the district to be here this morning, but I can assure you they have made the trip with enthusiasm and a great amount of interest in hearing from each of you. From a farm perspective, if you'll allow me to tell you just a little bit about the people here, simply put, the farm folks, they represent Tennessee agriculture. And the agroforestry complex in Tennessee, on average, it contributes $81 billion to the economy annually and accounts for nearly 12% of the economic activity conducted in the state. There are over 69,000 farms in Tennessee, and I think it's important to note that 98% of them are family farms. As Farm Bureau and Chamber members, we are humbled that each of your candidates are here with us today. We appreciate your willingness to share your thoughts on some of the most crucial issues of the day, but most importantly, we appreciate your willingness and sacrifice to make the commitment to serve as a voice for us in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Eric. And on behalf of the Tennessee Chamber, we are proud to partner with Tennessee Farm Bureau Federation. The Tennessee Chamber is a statewide organization. We partner with local chambers and individual businesses all across the state with a simple vision, and that's for Tennessee to have the greatest business climate in our great nation, and we're proud of the progress that we've been able to make. We believe the foundation of business primarily is, success is free enterprise, and today we're proud to exercise one of the most basic foundations of our democracy, and that's engagement in the political process. So thank each and every one of you. There's over 80,000 businesses in Tennessee, from small to large employers, and there's over 5,000 manufacturers as well across our state. Each one of them are drastically impacted by public policy, so having an opportunity to hear from candidates is vitally important, really, to our democratic process. This event is being broadcast by WCTV. We thank you for broadcasting the event, and we welcome every one of you, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'll turn it over now to the leaders from organizations to organize this. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Josh Ogles. I farm in Lincoln County, Tennessee. I serve on the Tennessee Farm Bureau Federation Board of Directors as a District 2 representative, which covers this 5th Congressional District.
Good morning. My name is Stacy Cothran. My day job, I work for Waste Management. In my spare time, I'm on the Board of Directors for the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I currently am the chair of all the environmental committees for the chamber. I'm from Marshall County. Not only am I from Marshall County, I'm from Chapel Hill, and I was raised on a farm.
So the focus of this forum this morning will be on economic vitality, trade, and foreign relations, labor challenges, and the environmental and regulatory obstacles facing businesses and agriculture. To avoid unnecessary distractions, we ask you to please silence your cell phones during this forum. There will be 3 segments of the forum: opening comments, questions, and closing arguments. Or closing comments, I apologize, no arguments. Candidates will speak in alphabetical order for the opening and closing. There will be 2 rounds of questions with 1 question per candidate per round. We prepared questions in advance and asked each candidate to draw their 2 questions at random this morning. Each question was labeled with a number, signifying the order in which they will be asked. Each candidate will have up to 3 minutes to respond to their question. Each candidate will only verbally respond to the questions he or she drew. No 2 candidates will respond to the same question.
Also, to help you keep up with time and for the forum to stay on schedule, we have a timekeeper. Where's our timekeeper? Right here. Does everybody see the timekeeper? We want to make sure you're an important person. They will raise the time card when your time is up. In addition, we have a time clock visible to the candidates to keep them aware of time remaining. Where's our time clock for everybody?
Don't have one.
Okay. Following the question portion, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. This is not a debate, and we respectfully request each candidate stay within the format and time. Audience, please remain silent during the forum. No cheers, applause, please no boos or other distractions. We all want to concentrate on what the candidates have to say. And it says candidates, you may now approach the stage, but you're already here, so that's taken care of. But thank you.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we welcome each of you. And so we're going to begin with your 4-minute opening comments. First up, we have Miss Natasha Brooks. Just, you want on this side, or does it matter? Yeah, fine.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Natasha. They call me our Miss Brooks. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank my campaign staff for being here. Thank you, President Eric Bradley, Farm Bureau, Tennessee Chamber. I'm honored to be here in your presence today. I am from Gilmer, Texas, Upshur County, home of the sweet potatoes and yams, and I make the best sweet potato biscuits and fried chicken this side of the Mississippi. I am a farmer, and this means a lot to me to be here today. We have a sweet potato farm, and having this forum says a lot that you are concentrating not just on the urban districts, but also on the rural county districts. James 2:26 says, "Faith without works is dead." And my grandmother Louise Stevens, who is no longer with us, said, "If you can't make it in Tennessee, you can't make it anywhere. Have a little bit of faith, a little bit of hard work." Tennessee, the business-friendly state. It has been friendly with me. I own and operate a homeschool academy that services autistic and learning disabilities children. It has been inspirational to me. Our farm has been uplifting to me. And now, concentrating on the 5th, I want to serve 3 volunteer, because we're the volunteer state, 3 terms to voice our concerns in Congress. Also, I am the proud HBCU alumni of the Purple and Gold, Prairie View A&M University, where our motto is Prairie View produces productive people. We want to make sure and ensure that the 5th Congressional District, along with Tennesseans, produce productive people, along with our farmers. Wilson County, home of the century farmers, we are listening to you. And as I close, we need to think on these lines. Don't put off today for what you can do for tomorrow starts today. Today, I humbly ask that you visit our website, NatashaBrooksForCongress2022.org, and I'm here to have a productive conversation with you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Senator Heidi Campbell, you may now begin.
Agriculture, whoa, agriculture is still the #1 industry in Tennessee. So, to all the agriculture workers who showed up throughout the pandemic to keep food on our plates and to keep products on the shelves, to our farmers, ranchers, and livestock growers, and everyone else in the industry, you are the definition of essential worker. And the hard work you do is essential to the Tennessee economy. You grow the raw materials we rely on in our daily lives: cattle, soybeans, broilers, corn, hay, cotton, on and on. Our family farmers are the very foundation of the agriculture supply chain. And now I would be honored to stand here and talk all day about the great work that's happening in our ag industry, but I know that it is not all high cotton and blue ribbons. Many of you are under constant pressure. It could be the common roller coaster, cost increases or supply delays. It could be the worker shortage or the constant pressure to get bigger or get out. Our freedom to build a good life is slipping away for too many families, business owners, and farms. And in the past few decades, family farms have disappeared from our communities. As monopolies in the ag industry have grown bigger, small and mid-sized operators have been squeezed to death by the dollar, depression, or exhaustion. But as family farms go away, so do businesses they help support. Local seed and supply stores, shops, restaurants, even hospitals, all close down, and everyone gets poorer, and our communities get torn apart. If we keep allowing this to repeat itself, we will lose our soul. We have to break this cycle. It doesn't matter if you're in a small town or a suburb. Our very way of life is threatened by greed and misplaced priorities. For years, we've been fed a myth about how the economy works, that policies preferred by big corporations and billionaires will trickle down and benefit us. But we see the consequences of this failed policy every day. We have to break this cycle. Government is supposed to be us, Nothing more and nothing less. Concerned citizens working together to solve problems none of us can solve alone. Like protecting our way of life with strong public schools that keep kids and communities competitive. My campaign is about freedom for families first. To me, that means every hardworking person, small business owner, and family farmer has the tools to build a good life. Tools like affordable health care, child care, education, and energy. That means we're building an economy from the middle out, where we recognize working families as the engine of our economy, and that our skills, labor, and purchasing power is what makes the economy run. We need solutions that support working families and solutions that respect hard work. In agriculture, we need alternatives that give family farmers more input in pricing for the long haul, not just year to year. Our farmers deserve new markets like legalized cannabis, a cash crop we're losing out on. We need new roads, railways, and high-speed internet to better connect our rural communities to larger marketplaces. And we need 21st century immigration reform, something smart, fair, and practical, like a better guest worker program, so that farmers have the skilled workers they need to feed our nation. If you're doing well, then the country does well. My name is Heidi Campbell, and I'm asking for your vote to represent you in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Campbell. Next is former Speaker of the House, Beth Harwell.
Good morning. Again, my name is Beth Harwell, and it's such a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank the Chamber and the Farm Bureau for hosting us today, and actually thank all of you for caring enough to come out and listen and learn a little bit together. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, a small little place called Lancaster County. You might have heard of it, the Pennsylvania Dutch area. I came to Nashville, Tennessee to attend David Lipscomb University and fell in love with Middle Tennessee. I've lived here ever since for 38 years. I went on, did my graduate work at Vanderbilt University, and then fell in love with a native Nashvilleian, Sam Harwell. We married, and we have 3 children, all of which are grown now. And I miss having them at home, I'll be honest. Many of you I know from my years of being Speaker. I was Speaker for 8 years, and I went into that position with a very clear agenda of what I wanted to accomplish during those years. First and foremost, I wanted to phase out the Hall income tax so we could truly say we are an income tax-free state. We were able to do that. The second was something that the Farm Bureau helped me with quite a bit. We eliminated the inheritance death tax and the gift tax, which allows family farms to stay together and not have to be sold at the time of someone's death. We were able to do those great things in Tennessee. There is a reason why people are flooding to live in Tennessee. It's not by accident. We made some sound fiscal decisions, lowering our excise and franchise tax, making this one of the most business-friendly states in the nation in which to live, to work, to raise your family. I think that same message needs to be sent to Washington, D.C. D.C. needs some Tennessee common sense values, and hopefully I can deliver that for you. When I look at D.C., I see 2 things that concern me greatly. The first is the federal overreach that is impacting each of our lives to an extreme. And the second is the fiscal insanity that's taking place in Washington, D.C. No nation has been able to sustain this kind of debt, neither can our great nation. So those are my 2 top priorities as I ask for your consideration and ask for your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Speaker Harwell. Maury County Mayor Andy Ogles, you may begin now.
Well, good morning, and like all the others, thank you for being here. This is an exciting time for Tennessee. We have a new district that's going to be a pickup for Republicans. We have the opportunity to move forward with economic policies that will support small businesses and farmers. My name is Andy Ogles. I have a beautiful wife. We dated in high school and college. Grew up in Franklin. We have 3 beautiful children, a daughter that's 15, sons 12 and 7. Started my career as a small business owner, so I know what it's like to make a payroll. And I know what it's like to struggle and to fall behind. I know what it's like to have to work 80 hours a week and roll up your sleeves to try to get ahead. And so during COVID, when I refused to comply with the mandates and I refused to shut down my community, It was that experience as a small business owner that guided me. Because if at that moment the government had said that I was non-essential, that my business was non-essential, we would have lost everything. It's up to the free market to decide, not the government, whether or not you are essential. If you're a single mom with 2 kids, your job's essential. And how dare the government step in and try to run our lives? You know, we have a small farm down in Murray County, and we're a small operator. And I've noticed that my expenses are going up. You know, we recently got into sheep, and the great thing about farm work is it teaches kids responsibility. And our 2 oldest kids, man, they're just oohing and ahhing over these baby sheep. And my youngest one, who has no filter, he's 7, and we're riding back, and he's sitting in the car, and he's fuming about something. And I said, Isaac, what's wrong? He goes, do you realize we now have more chores? But that's what we need in this country. We need more chores. We need our children to know what it's like to have to work, to get up early and collect the eggs and let out the sheep. We've got to get back to personal responsibility. You know, during COVID, I relied on you, our community, and personal responsibility. If you wanted to wear a mask, wear a mask. It's your decision. If you want the vaccine, get the vaccine. It's your decision. Then shut up about it. We have HIPAA for a reason. My healthcare history is none of your business, and yours is none of mine. And again, how dare the government try to regulate you and your healthcare? Again, we have HIPAA for a reason. The federal overreach that we've witnessed over the last 2 years has got to stop. The fiscal insanity, as the speaker said, has got to stop. During COVID, while others were silent, I led the charge. I refused to comply. And even when I was getting death threats, they put my home address and where my children go to school and literally said you should pay Mayor Ogles and his family a visit. I never wavered. Actions speak louder than words. I've been fighting for freedom and liberty for Murray County and for the state of Tennessee for over a decade. And when I go to Congress, I'll fight for you there. My name is Andy Ogles, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mayor Ogles. Next, we have retired Brigadier General Kurt Winstead.
Good morning, and thanks to the Chamber and Farm Bureau for having us here today. A little background. My family's been in Tennessee for 8 generations. And for the past 30 years, I've been right here in this community, working and serving and raising a family with my wife, who's sitting right there. And my parents, they were teachers and farmers up in East Tennessee, Hawkins County. And they instilled in me those conservative values such as hard work and faith and serving others. And I have really tried to practice those my entire life. Now, in 1990, with the backdrop of Saddam Hussein invading Kuwait, I stood up and took an oath to serve and protect my country in the Tennessee National Guard. A few years later, I was deployed to a combat zone in Iraq, and I was very, very proud to serve. But you know what? I'll tell you the hardest thing I had to do was to leave behind the 3 most precious things in my life, and that's my wife, Beth, and my daughters, Bridget and Mary Hannah. And that's a day I'll never forget. So when I came back, I decided there were 3 things that were important to me. One is I was going to stay in the military. I wanted to continue to serve, and I felt like I had an obligation to do that. Second thing is I was going to get involved in my community a lot more and serve the best way I could with my local community. And finally, I decided I was never going to miss another hug from my family. So now, our country's at a crossroads. We have an opportunity to put a Republican in the 5th District for the first time since the 1800s. And why do I want to go there? Because this is the weakest, our country's the weakest it's been since the days of Jimmy Carter. Inflation is out of control, gas prices are killing us, diesel prices are killing you at the farms. The border is out of control. We're having fentanyl killing our own citizens in this state, our own youth. The border crisis we're that far away from having an open border. We've got to get that under control. And most importantly, we have got to put national security as a priority. We have got to put America first. We've got to get our country back to the respect and strength that it has around the world. Now, 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago, I stood right here in this community, and I raised my right hand and I took an oath to serve and protect my country. I'm making that same pledge to you, the people of the 5th District, that I will serve and represent you to the best of my ability every day that I am in Congress, so help me God. Now, there's one thing I'm not, and that's I'm not a Washington insider. I'm not a politician, first time I've ever run for office. But what I am, we have in common, and that's I'm a Tennessean. And I want to take those Tennessee conservative values to Washington, D.C. and work them for you. But I need your help, and I need your support, and I need your vote. Kurt Winstead for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, General Winstead. Mr. Trace Whittam, you may begin.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. We do it again? All right, here we go. Thanks for having me, Tennessee Farm Bureau and Tennessee State Chamber, President Mayberry and President Jackson. My name's Trace Whittam, and over the past 15 years, I've been active, speaking out. It started actually on a college campus for me. I went to the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. I got involved in college Republicans, ended up being the state chairman of the college Republicans, simply because I had a big mouth with a lot to say. Actually, on a college campus, they challenge you to think critically, and all different kinds of things come at you, and you feel your truth challenged. And when truth is challenged, you got two options. You either sit down in your chair a little lower and just hope it moves faster, or you stand up and speak out. And I chose to stand up and speak out. But politics wasn't the only thing I was interested in college. I worked in film and television as well. And what brought me to the Middle Tennessee area was the movie industry. I worked on a movie called Hannah Montana, which was really cool because we filmed it around this district. And it was about saving Tennessee. And recently I was thinking back on that and how ironically, here we are trying to save Tennessee, save our farmland, not sell it to people that want to take away our Tennessee values. After I graduated from college, I was asked to come work in the state Senate as a staffer to the Senate Speaker Pro Tem and the Senate Finance Ways and Means Chairman. And I have to say that was the best education I've received in my life. There are things you learn in school that you just can't learn in the way things are done. And one of the most profound things I found was I was told, common sense and reason, throw it out, it doesn't work here. And unfortunately, in legislatures, that's not how it works. But you still got to get things done. And so the past 11 years, I've been able to sit behind decision makers in our state house, people that are looking over the budget, people that are looking over your money, people that are looking out over things that matter to you. And so I've had an opportunity to do that. And so recently, we found out the congressional lines would be drawn differently. And it was something that I just turned 35 on May 28th, and it was something that I hadn't considered at this time. I've never run for public office. But you start talking to people and you hear the concerns of what's on people's minds. And you understand that people are up against rough times. We just went through a big pandemic, and things were so uncertain. And right before us, we see this world changing, and economies changing, and innovation changing. And it's causing disruptions in all different types of business. But the good news with disruptions and tough times are, at least in America, we tend to rise to those challenges, and we find new solutions and innovative solutions. And so I can stand before you today and talk about all the things that are going wrong, and believe me, we'll get into that. But I really want to challenge us to have a conversation about what we can start doing right and what we can start doing better. And although I may not be here in the year 2100, our country will if we do the right things today. Our country will be the greatest nation in the world in 2100 if we do the right things today. And so what that means is our infrastructure and our supply chain and our buildings and our farms and our agriculture, that's got to start today for a better tomorrow. So I want to tell you that, again, what we do today matters tomorrow. The things I'm talking to people about are common people stuff. The price of milk, believe the national average is $4.33. And all the farmers that produce that they're sitting here telling us about the long way it takes to get it right there to your door. Gas, they're telling us to be thankful that it's $5 a gallon. It might be $4. These are things we've got to address, and we've got to find solutions to bring better prices to consumers and have a better America for tomorrow. Thank you very much. I'm Trace Whittam. I look forward to a good conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Whittam. We will now move on to the questions. Like we said before, when the candidates drew their questions this morning, each question had a number signifying the order in which they will be asked. Each candidate will answer 2 questions, and they have 3 minutes to respond to each question. And the lucky number 1 is Mayor Andy Ogles. I'm going to read the question. This question is for Mayor Ogles. The energy policy that fuels America's economic growth and prosperity while strengthening security is important to both business and agriculture. Consumers are most directly impacted by the prices at the pump, which have drastically increased in the last year. Every piece of the supply chain becomes weaker when energy prices rise. What solutions would you offer to address the current energy crisis?
Well, it's quite simple. Drill, baby, drill. We drill on federal lands. You can drill in the Gulf. You can drill in my backyard. But America has to become energy independent once again. It's that simple. During COVID, we saw unregulated, unfettered, unaccountable regulatory agencies controlling our lives and destroying our economy. The EPA, we've got to get them off your farm. We've got to get them out of the oil industry. We've got over 2,000, or roughly 2,000 oil rigs, wells in Texas ready to go, and yet only about a third of them are operating. Why? Because of regulatory agencies. We've got to finish the pipeline. So the simple answer, it's time for Congress to remove barriers for business to operate in this country. Again, it's not just about the economy, it's about national security. We're entering the Cold War again. Russia is our enemy. China is our enemy. And we must, now and forevermore, be energy independent. And again, these regulatory bodies, CMS, EPA, just name them. It's time for Congress to chop them off at the knees and for Congress to do its job in running this country and not deferring it to, again, unelected bureaucrats who don't care about you. Whereas we, the people, have the opportunity to elect our members of Congress and hold them accountable. So I blame Congress for allowing us to slip backwards over these last 2 years, these last 3 years, really. And so with that, I would encourage you to currently reach out to your not only your member of Congress, but your members of the General Assembly, and ask them to do their part. Remove the federal gas tax, remove the state gas tax, while we elect a new Congress that can truly, truly make us energy independent once again.
Thank you, Mayor Ogles. This next question is for Ms. Natasha Brooks. America has the most abundant and affordable food supply the world has ever known. This is a result of domestic production and processing of our own food supply. A key component of America's food security are the programs within the Farm Bill. Congress is set to write a new Farm Bill in 2023. What is your vision for the many programs found within the Farm Bill?
Thank you for the question. As I was reading the Farm Bill, interesting enough, running for the 5th, Title V was the most interesting part of that Farm Bill to me. Title V includes, but not limited to, the veterans and new farmers that are wanting to start their own businesses. One of the things in Title V of that Farm Bill is that it allows veterans to go from $600,000 in loans to about $1.2 million in loans. I would like to see for a vision something a little bit different. If they're going to take the loans, I'd like to see loan forgiveness after a while, because for the most part, 3 things I like to do: eat, eat again, and again eat. And our farmers are our suppliers. So we don't want to see farmers in debt. Another thing of that Farm Bill of Title V is first-time farmers. We need to focus on grants more so than loans. And I actually do like there is a 3-year, there's a waiver that they can actually be waived on applications on loans. But once again, my vision for Title V of the Farm Bill is focus on loan forgiveness or low-interest loans after they have proven their time of worthiness of farming. And before I close on this statement, it is a vision of mine, since we are in the 5th Congressional District, that you realize that in the urban city of Davidson County, there are a lot of students that want to be farmers and don't know how to. Kudos to Tennessee State University and the Dean of Agriculture over there of having an agriculture department. But what we need in the Davidson County, Nashville, 5th Congressional District, is we need an agriculture magnet school. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. The next question is for Mr. Trace Whittam. There are a multitude of factors economists can say drive inflation. From January 2021 to January 2022, the Consumer Price Index had the largest 12-month increase since 1982. Food and energy prices continue to be on the rise. Our nation is at a crossroads of how best to address the growing national debt and annual deficits. What solutions would you offer to ensure fiscal responsibility?
Hello, there we go. Sorry, we're having trouble with the microphone. I think there's 2 parts to that question. One, let's just go ahead and address the nation's debt. Again, I said I'm 35 years old, and so the nation's debt is very important to me, because not only does it affect my generation moving forward, but it affects our kids and our grandkids. Again, thinking of 2100, how do we get there? My time in the Tennessee State Senate, working with Senate Finance, Ways and Means, I learned a lot about Tennessee values according to our checkbook. Tennessee balances our budget. The federal government does not balance their budget, not even close, which I would support a balanced budget amendment of the federal government. The problem is we have so many, everything's been just thrown out of whack, and those that know me know that I've also talked about the 17th Amendment. I think we have to make sure that the federal government is accountable to our states. The states are the ones that the federal mandates have to carry out, and sometimes they don't have the money, which gets us hooked more on the federal government. For every $1 we give, they'll give us $3, and then you get hooked on these programs, program after program after program. In Tennessee, I'd like to say that it's been said we're kind of like a regular family. We probably drive a Tennessee-made car, whether that's maybe a Volkswagen or a Ford. We balance our checkbook. We kind of just live our daily lives. So again, the price of milk does matter to us. The problem with that is we're now in a time where supply chains all kind of blocked up. And what used to take 2 weeks to get something from overseas is now taking about 4 weeks. It go ahead and it gets to a port. That port might not be open. So it starts blocking things up, and your products are sitting out on the water for maybe 2-3 days, maybe 2 weeks, until somebody comes and gets it. Your price just goes up, up, up. Then when it gets there, we've got to move it. And so now we've got a trucking industry that's putting diesel in their trucks. The problem with diesel is now they're even worried about that the additives that make the diesel might not be there. So now we've got diesel shortages, and price goes up, 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 because we still got to get the products to you. So we've got major problems in this country when it comes to our debt, but it also, everything ties to how do we get these things going? How do we keep innovating America so your products get to you faster? And so we keep throwing money at problems, but the problem with that is that we're paying for it, and then it's mandated back on the states. And so I think we can really learn from Tennessee where we balance our budget. There's no income tax here. which is a really great thing, but for some industries, you can't thrive without a income tax. But here in Tennessee, we do that. So I think the federal government could learn from us on that, at least lower our federal income taxes, giving people a better shot. So I think, again, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, to be short, we should learn from Tennessee. We should balance our budget, and if we can't balance our budget, we should start cutting back and cutting back and cutting back until we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whittam. This question is for Speaker Beth Harwell. The last time Congress passed immigration reform was the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. The farm and business community rely on a strong and reliable guest worker program to solve critical labor needs. What is your plan to balance these important factors with the need to maintain a secure border?
Well, we're all a nation of immigrants, correct? Great-great-parents came from someplace. My ancestors came from Ireland and England. The difference is when they came to this country, they usually came to one specific point, Ellis Island. They were given a health screen. At that time, they were testing for TB. And then they were immediately helped and assisted in getting work instead of being assisted to get on a government program. That's a sharp contrast from what we see today. I've been to the border. I realize the crisis we have there. As I've told my students, if you don't have a border, you don't truly have a nation. So we need to secure our border, but just right along with that, we as Americans have a right to decide how many people will come into this country, what their skill level would be, and how quickly we can assist them in assimilating to becoming a true American. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Harwell. The next question is for Mayor Ogles again. Tennessee has a robust economy with a diversity of industries which need a reliable and skilled workforce. For the farm and business community, the lack of available and qualified workers is one of the greatest challenges for Tennessee's continued economic growth. How do you intend to support Tennessee's workforce needs?
You know, the answer to that question is twofold. One deals with immigration and the other education. On the immigration front, as it's been said, we've got to secure our border, we've got to shut it down, but we've got to reform a system that is inherently broken. You know, if you and I want to work in another country, you have to get a one-year work visa, you pay their taxes, you can never vote, and you can never become a citizen. That's the way it is in the rest of the world. That's what we need to do here. We've been talking about immigration reform since Reagan, and yet nothing's been done. It's time to get it done, because now it's not just an economic issue, it's a national security issue. The other side of that coin is education. We've got to get education back in the hands of the states and out of Washington, D.C. The education needs for Iowa versus Silicon Valley versus Tennessee are going to be different. And so if there is a state, and this obviously is a state-driven issue, that can cut the cord from the federal government, it would be D.C. It's time for Congress to incentivize states to own and run education without the Department of Education. It's time to bring an end to the bureaucratic control the Department of Education has on our schools. In short, it's time to get D.C. out of Tennessee. As your congressman, I will do everything that I can to fight for our children. I have kids in school, young kids in school, and their education, they're the future of our country. If we don't get this right, it's our fault. In Tennessee, a conservative state, only 25% of our children read on grade level. In Tennessee, a conservative state, only 25% of our children do math at grade level. The solution is not in Washington. The solution is here at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ogles. This next question is for Ms. Natasha Brooks. Freedom, democracy, and free enterprise are foundational for national success. Countries sharing a commitment to protecting basic human rights and guaranteeing political and economic freedom will prosper. Maintaining national security is vital to protect our people and our leadership in the free world. What is your philosophy on national security, and how do you speak to improve it? How do you seek to improve it?
Thank you for the question. Military. We must start first in administration. If we can send $40 billion to Ukraine, we can increase our military spending and benefits for those who serve. Number one, we have a crisis on getting people to the military. It started at defund the police, and that defund the police carried on into the military. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we are surrounded by water. The only way to get to us is come through water. We need more people in our military, in our Navy, and now we are competing with China. Why is China getting to be number one in building Navy ships? Where are we? We need to be asking ourselves that question. Back to increasing our military spending, number one. Number two, on national security, I have talked to every single person, chief, sheriff in the 5th Congressional District, and they are low on numbers, talking about national security. They are low on numbers on getting people to work in the police department. Our first responders, we need to have a conversation on what their pay is, military pay, their benefits. We cannot have people that serve us and protect us make less than those that are working at McDonald's or Bojangles. We need to focus on what their benefits are so that they will have a desire to serve us. We don't need a decrease in attendance of military, we need an increase. So as our national security, all eyes are on China and Russia. Remember, the best way for them to get to us is by water. We need to focus on our Navy. We need to focus on, one, it starts in-house, our administration. What are we doing with the money? Let's increase the benefits and an incentive for them to join the greatest force in the entire world. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. The next question is for Speaker Harwell. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, has proposed a rule that would require registrants to provide certain climate-related disclosures in their registration statements and annual reports, including potentially invasive and burdensome information about farms and business. In the opinion of many within the farm and business community, the SEC has overreached the agency's regulatory authority. Give us your opinion of the rule, as well as your opinion of what the role Congress should have in this and similar situations.
Well, thank you. And what a perfect example of what we've been talking about, federal overreach. That is not the job of the SEC to determine the standards, environmental capacities of companies. And it would definitely be wrong to include farm in that. I've read Congressman John Rose's letter that he has sent to the SEC. I would support him in his efforts to make sure farmers do not have to comply with this. And if I'm elected in Congress, this is the very type of regulation that I would like to see come to an end.
Thank you, Speaker Harwell. This next question is for General Kurt Winstead. For decades, confusion surrounding the Clean Water Act's reach has led to widespread regulatory uncertainty, costly litigation, and stifled economic growth. The EPA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have proposed a new rule that would roll back the Navigable Waters Protection Rule and replace it with an updated version of the pre-2015 regulatory regime. In the opinion of many within the farm and business community, the agencies have overreached their regulatory authority. Give us your opinion of the rule, as well as your opinion of what the role of Congress should have in this and similar situations.
Does this question hit a nerve in here? This harkens back to the days of Obama. I mean, the EPA is out of control. Congress's role is to step in and do the proper legislation to rein EPA in. When 2 drops of rain fall on a farmer's land, the EPA should not be able to regulate that. And I will fight in Congress to make sure statutorily we rein in their power so our farmers and our landowners can do what they do best, and that's take care of our food and take care of our food supply in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, General Winstead. The next question is for Mr. Trace Whittam. The economic health of every nation depends on mutually beneficial trade among nations. The United States must strengthen monetary and trade policies to promote fewer trade barriers between nations. We must continue working to build strong relations with existing customers while seeking out new trade partners to strengthen market stability. How can we enhance the existing and establish new and diverse foreign trading partners?
Well, this is a timely question. I believe the administration is calling this a wartime footprint. What we see happening overseas in Ukraine with Russia has created quite the opportunity for trade. We've all not benefited from the prices of trade and the policies. What's interesting that we're learning right now from Russia, they are the largest exporter of oil and gas. And so what you're seeing happen right now is how the United States, President Biden said he is going to release 1 million barrels of oil a day for 6 months. They're hoping to ease some of the problems that Europe's having getting oil. The problem is at home it's not helping us. But the idea with that is to hopefully unhook Europe so they come here and start looking at what we have to offer, like minerals and renewable energy. So as we're bringing up new supply for energy, we're hoping that we can trade back and forth again. So we talk about the supply chain. So when things come here, the embargoes and the tariffs have been terrible with exporting. We want to export our goods. We don't want a lot of regulation. We also need to incentivize those other nations to buy American products. We need to build it here. We need to export it here. We have the largest oil and gas reserves. We have the most natural gas as well. And we want to export our products to other nations to get them hooked on America rather than be hooked on China or hooked on Russia. We want you hooked on America. So we need to do everything we can in Congress to incentivize the export of American goods. Again, if that's kill the tariffs and embargoes the best we can to make sure that we have the best opportunity, that's what we need to be doing. But getting creative to make sure that American goods are made and exported and fair and free trade is happening around the nation. And we can't allow wartime footprint to stop fair trade. And I know that a lot of these policies we see are to discourage, sanctions, if you will, are to discourage countries like Russia. And so we've got to watch that as well. So again, America has a great opportunity. You're going to see a big shift in our economy as we look at the financial strain going on around the world. America has a huge opportunity to lead the world. Again, looking forward into 2100, but what we do today with trade matters tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whittam. This next question is for Senator Heidi Campbell. Tennessee has been a right-to-work state since 1947. This November, voters will be considering whether to place right-to-work in the Tennessee Constitution. For businesses, this critical provision in Tennessee state law has been a cornerstone for Tennessee's successful business climate since its enactment. Adding it in the state constitution would further solidify Tennessee's position as a pro-business and pro-worker state and protect Tennessee from extreme repeal efforts originated in Congress by the PRO Act. Do you support embedding Tennessee's right-to-work law into our state constitution, and what will your position be in Congress with policies like the PRO Act, which seek to repeal right-to-work laws?
So this process has been a great process, answering these questions. I want to thank the Farm Bureau for such a great set of questions. Let's be clear about this. Right to work is not pro-worker, and it's only pro-business in as much as it caters to large corporate profit motives at the expense of workers and small businesses. We see this playing out in Tennessee right now, where we have 2 jobs available for every unemployed worker. Affordable labor has been a huge draw for Tennessee, but there's a point at which we see diminishing returns if we aren't providing workers with a living wage, especially in a district where living costs are rapidly increasing. This past year, our legislature had held a special session to create a municipal authority for the Ford plant in Haywood County. And special concessions were made to allow Ford to employ unionized workers. This is because Ford is a great company, and it's a great company to work for, and the state knows that we will bring business and revenue to Tennessee. Rather than continue to keep workers from advocating for better pay, we should realize the greater marginal return of supporting companies and industries that value workers.
Thank you, Senator Campbell, and you get to just stay at the podium because the next question's for you also. Tennessee has proven that a strong business climate and fair and accountable business incentives is the best way to grow our economy without tax increases. Low tax rates and a stable tax code allows farmers and businesses to grow the economy, create jobs, and invest in the future. What solutions would you offer to improve our country's tax structure? How do you intend to support Tennessee to ensure that our tax system is fair for business and agriculture and that Tennessee remains competitive?
So Tennessee does have low tax rates for some of our citizens, but with our heavy reliance on sales tax, our system can be harmful to working families. As a mayor, I was able to fix a fiscally unstable budget that I had inherited by implementing fiscal discipline and never raising taxes. Our tax code should be as simple and as fair as possible, and the average Tennessean should be able to sit down at their kitchen tables and fill out their taxes. Americans should be working their way into the middle class, not falling out of it. We need a tax code that reflects those values. That means we should return to the basic ideas that built the greatest economy on earth, that everyone pays their fair share and plays by the same rules. That means big corporations and the super wealthy have to start paying their fair share of taxes. It's long overdue, and it'll ease the burden of rising costs everywhere for everyone else. We should stop rewarding giant corporations that ship American jobs overseas and stop asking middle-class taxpayers to fund tax subsidies for big oil. I'm not here to punish anybody. All I'm asking is that everyone pays their fair share, just like working and middle-class families do.
Thank you, Senator Campbell. This last question is for General Kurt Winstead. Port congestion and scarcity of containers have shocked the global supply chain, along with a shortage of truck drivers. The roads and bridges serving and connecting our country's rural areas face significant challenges. America's inland waterway system provides the lowest cost, most fuel-efficient, and environmentally friendly method to transport products, and we appreciate Congress finally passing crucial bipartisan infrastructure legislation. What action items can Congress take to alleviate the supply chain crisis?
Well, one of the problems right now is that the current administration, the Biden administration, inflation under that administration is choking the supply chain. Also, there's no way that we can get anything done until we unleash our energy resources in America. That will bring down prices for the supply chain in and around our own country. And also, we've got to stop this current administration from killing our energy. They're trying to beat us down on the energy side. We need to open that up. The second part is we need to decouple ourselves from the supply chain reliance that we have on China. They're controlling us from the outside, and we need to make sure that we are the ones that are controlling the supply chain from the inside and be a net exporter, not a net importer from the United States. Thank you.
Thank you all for those great comments and great replies to those questions. I'm Will Evans, president of the Murray County Chamber and Economic Alliance. We represent the business community of Murray County, and we're happy to partner with the Tennessee Chamber to do that. And we are equally as happy to recognize the Farm Bureau as a member and one of our largest employers for Murray County. At this point, this brings us to the closing statements. So each candidate will now have 2 minutes to make their closing statements, and we'll go in alphabetical order just as we did with the opening statements. We'll begin with you, Ms. Natasha Brooks.
Natasha R. Miss Brooks. Who would have thought that a small town farm girl like me would be standing on a world stage such as this? Thank you, Farm Bureau and Tennessee Chamber, for the invitation. All the questions we've talked about today are the #1 issue that we want to talk about for you in Congress: mental health. We've got to get mental health facilities up and running now. Being productive producers, Prairie View A&M University of the Texas A&M University System, Agriculture and Mechanical College. To be a productive producer, we must have mental great health. Supporting our miners and farmers, send a farmer for education to Congress for our mental health. Our truckers, their mental health. We need an agriculture magnet school for those of you that are listening. I'm sure someone would want to talk to me about that afterwards. For those students that want to be a farmer in the urban school district. I am pro-life. Adoption and foster care, we must add that to our pro-life stance. We can't talk about human trafficking unless we talk about adoption and foster care and get children out of the system for our mental health so that they can be productive producers for our future. Wilson County, Murray County, Marshall County, Lewis County, Davidson County, Wilson County, home of the Century Farmers. My name is Natasha. They call me our Miss Brooks. I'm asking for your support, your prayers, and ultimately your vote. Productive producers, people.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Senator Heidi Campbell, you may begin.
Thank you again to the Farm Bureau for having us today. This has been lovely. For the talk that we always have about political parties, it's worth saying that I learned a lot from my grandparents who were lifelong Republicans and Reagan supporters, and they believed in hard work, fiscal responsibility, civility, and stay out of my damn bedroom. But this isn't my grandparents' Republican Party. And look, the Democratic Party is not perfect. But nobody ever tells me how to vote or what to say, and nobody bosses me around. To me, this race isn't about red politics or blue politics. It's about delivering results for our families. I believe I've proven that. As someone who's won every race I've ever run in a deeply purple district, I know how to find common ground and common sense solutions. And I'm confident in my record of public service and getting results for citizens and businesses in Middle Tennessee. In Congress, I will work hard to end extremism, fight back against corruption, and focus on freedom for our families. That means creating good American jobs, thriving schools, and strengthening the middle class. That means every family has the tools and opportunity to build a good life. I'm the only candidate up here who will be on the ballot in November for sure. My name is Heidi Campbell, and I ask you for your support, and if you live in District 5, for your votes.
Thank you, Senator Campbell. Next is former Speaker of the House, Beth Harwell.
Well, again, I know I join everyone up on the stage by saying how much we respect farmers and our business community. And I know these are difficult times. The price of everything from fuel to feed is going up. So the very fact that you can manage to keep those farms going makes us all proud of you. I appreciate the host for today. I appreciate the good questions that we were asked, a thorough good debate. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. Your attendance means so much. It makes me believe again that people care. And I'll tell you, this is the greatest country in the world, and it would be my honor to serve you in the United States Congress. Just as my door was always open to you, the Farm Bureau and Chamber, when I was Speaker of the House, my door will always be open to you in Congress as well. I appreciate your consideration and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Harwell. Now, Murray County Mayor Andy Ogles.
Well, it's been an honor to be with you today. You know, I've been fighting for low taxes and less government here in Tennessee for a long time. You know, while others were quietly killing the repeal of the Hall income tax in committee, I wrote the amendment that finally got it done. While others were working to expand Obamacare in the state of Tennessee, I led the charge and killed it. While others voted to increase the gas tax, I fought for it and kept it at bay for 3 years. During COVID, when federal overreach was at its highest, I was vocal while others were silent. When OSHA came to Murray County and tried to shut down our workers and targeted our government, I politely sent a letter to President Biden and told him to pound sand. I sent a memo to every county employee and said, I'll go to jail before you are forced to take the vaccine by the government. I didn't stop there. I traveled the state working with other county mayors and other commissions, encouraging them to take a stand and to be vocal. And what I found was that courage is contagious. We have 95 counties in the state of Tennessee, and 2/3 of them did not have any of the mandates. Why? Because they stood with me, they stood with you, they stood for freedom and liberty. My name is Andy Ogles. When it really mattered, I was there. I stood in the gap and I said no to federal overreach, to government overreach. It matters who leads, and I'm asking for your vote. Andy Ogles for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ogles. Now, retired Brigadier General Kurt Winstead.
First of all, thanks, Chamber and Farm Bureau again, not only for having this event, but for what you do every day for this community. Really appreciate your help, so thanks a lot. And I hope today that you learned a little bit about why I'm running, and that is to put America first. Now, when I was serving in Iraq, I got to tour a hospital in Al-Naziriyah. And while I was there, a young boy, a patient, came running up to me, all very excited, and started patting my right arm where my American flag patch was. And he was smiling. So I asked the interpreter, what's going on? And he said, that young boy believes that you and that flag on your arm is his opportunity for hope and freedom. Now, folks, that's exactly why I wanted to serve my country. I wanted to ensure that future generations of Americans could always enjoy opportunity and hope for a better tomorrow. Now, from a small town, America, to a brigadier general, believe me, the good Lord has blessed me. But I am ready now to offer myself for service again, this time for you in the United States Congress. And I would appreciate your help, I would appreciate your support, and I would humbly ask for your vote. Kurt Winstead for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, General Winstead. Mr. Trace Whittam, you may begin.
I'm a proud son of the American Revolution, and I'm Trace because I'm named after my grandpa and my dad. And I want to take a moment just to remember my grandpa because I find him very important in this conversation. He grew up on a farm, and he taught me what agriculture was, what it was to be a conservationist. He was an avid hunter. He taught me how to handle a gun and what gun safety was. He taught me lessons of financial responsibility, even in the smaller practices. He went on to be a sixth grade dropout to run one of the largest corporations in America. I was very proud of him. Look at that now, because I look at what I'm attempting to do today and all those lessons that he had taught me that sometimes you're going to be put in situations where you got to make a tough decision, but you got to go with what you know. And so I stand before you and say, when you elect me to the United States Congress, I'll tell you the truth as I know it, whether it's good or bad. I'll listen to you. I'll ask for solutions. I'm not all-knowing. A lot of you in this room are experts in certain areas that I'm not. One thing I learned at the Tennessee legislature was, in a part-time legislature, they're not all experts. You come to the offices. You give solutions. Your input's taken, and that's how good policy's made. It's not just one person. It's us together as Tennesseans. And so my campaign is very simple. We're going to save America with Tennessee values. We're faith and family. We're lowering the debt. We need a strong national defense. We need new, good, innovative solutions when it comes to supply chain. It's not just one administration's problem, it's our problem. Because as I said earlier, 2100 will come for us. And what we do today matters tomorrow. So it's very important that we take these ideas seriously and not just political speak, not just what's good for the news media, but what actually gets the job done. And so we're in this together. I'm Trace Whittam, and I need you with me so we can accomplish it. Thank you for your time.
So what do you say we give these hardworking folks a round of applause? Candidates, we appreciate your participation. We appreciate you being here today and all the good things that we've heard. We wish you luck. We appreciate your passion for Tennessee, and we certainly hope you will continue to be a voice for Tennessee when one of you gets to Congress and to Washington, D.C., and let us know how we can help you along that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. And we'll ask the members of the media, if you're present, I know a number of you will want to network with the candidates up here, so to give them a few minutes. But on behalf of the Chamber, Farm Bureau, we greatly appreciate our partnership, and thank you to you all for taking time out of your busy day and to our candidates, and we stand in adjournment.